I was giving so much, and the transformations were so big, and yet my bank account was tiny. The outside world, I kept coming across this kind of feeling like you can't be spiritual and earn money. It's just like you can't do that. It's unethical. In order for us to create the shifts that we want, and for the dominant energy to be love rather than fear, I feel that we all need to rise up, and we need to embrace abundance in every level of our lives.
So, hello, Tonja. I'm so excited to have you here today. So, please, let's start with your story. How was your life before just go on.
Okay. It's quite long. Okay.
But what's important, because there are points where just these turning points.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, I was born very, like awake and very psychic. I sort of grew into mediumship skills, and I had a lot of awareness of energy. And then as I kind of moved into kind of late teens, I started to shut that down. By my early 20s, I was really very separate from all that is, or I felt like that. And so I had my first child when I was 26, and I had 4 children, or I have 4 children. And so I was very much on a roll of motherhood. And, I gave it my all. I gave it my best shot. I did my very best. I was really sort of dedicated to my children fully. And I kept getting backache. And this would sort of happen in cycles periodically. And I remember one particular occasion, I actually went to an osteopath, and I had to actually crawl out of my car. So I was driving, I parked up, and I couldn't get out, and I had to actually crawl along on the pavement. I mean, it was totally ridiculous, and I let things get so bad because I was so just focusing on my children, and I just didn't focus on myself at all. And actually, so much of this story, I've got even more awareness now as I'm growing more and more into myself. So anyway, the back thing progressed. Then I got a really stiff hip, and I was really feeling, this is starting to sort of impact my life. So up to this point, it was there, but I was ignoring it. I was just trying to do the odd thing, but basically I was ignoring my body.
Yes, of course, we are so dedicated to give everything to our children or to others.
Yeah. And then, so I went to the doctor, and talking about my hip, which was quite sort of debilitating at this point. And it was an extraordinary moment where he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, "I'm so sorry to tell you, but you're going to be in a wheelchair within 10 years. You will be on strong, powerful medication for the rest of your life. And, you will be completely disabled. You won't be able to walk." And I looked at him and I was just like, "Are you joking?" And he was like, "No, this is really serious. I must immediately send you for a scan. We must, put you on high dosage medication, etc., etc." So I went home and I thought, this just does not resonate with me. I don't feel that this is my story. So somebody recommended this guy to me who was a cranial sacral therapist. And I didn't know at the time, but he was also a healer. So he started working on me, and he said, don't go for your scan, because then you'll get locked into all of that kind of medical world. You'll believe what they're telling you. So I didn't go for my scan, and instead I had weekly sessions with the cranial sacral guy who was a healer. And each week it was much less about the physical and more about the spiritual and the emotional. And I started to really like open up my energy and my awareness. And he was like unlocking things every week, and it started to become really extraordinary. And he used to say to me, "You're a healer. You must train to be a healer." And I used to say, "No way! Like that is not for me. I can't do that. No thanks." And every week he would give me books. Please train. You must train. Your energy is extraordinary. You have so much to give the world. And I kept saying, no, like, I'm really not into that. And one day I was sat in the waiting room waiting for him, and he was a little bit delayed. And he had a woman in there, and she left through another door, so I didn't see her. But when I got in, I was crying. And he said, "What is it?" And I said, "I felt all of her pain." And I could tell him exactly what was wrong with her, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And he was just like, wow, like, what are you doing? You have got to get this out into the world. And I was just like, yeah, like, oh my God, I think I actually do. Anyway, as this kind of like opened up, and it was quite an extraordinary journey, um, I started to just not sleep at all because I was getting so much. It's like the doorway was open. It's like my light was suddenly on. And I just kept getting so much information about people. It was like this crazy, crazy world of like hearing voices. And I was more in this world than I was in my earthly domain. And I was like quite overwhelmed, really, and quite like, wow, like I actually have to do something about this because it's knocking on my door so loudly. I I can't ignore it anymore. And I'd actually gone through a period of in my 20s of and even my 30s, I think, of really not even fully believing in this stuff, even though I'd had it all my life. I'd grown up in a very sort of spiritual environment. Um, I'd cut off from it. I disassociated completely. So anyway, it was like there was no choice. There was no option for me. I had to go down this road. So I found a local healer who trained people to really sort of like harness their skills and also create boundaries and understand what was going on, understand energy, understand auras, all of that kind of thing. So I did the training, and then I kept doing other training because I was like, wow, like, oh my God, like this is opening up something that really resonates with me. And also,
Yes.
like, I feel alive. I felt really like this is my purpose. And everything started to make sense how I'd shut off so much from my spiritual self just to
Yes.
serve others. And,
Yes.
don't get me wrong, like that was um, an amazing, joyful experience for me, is to be the mother for my children and be there. But I had forgotten who I was.
Yes.
Like you've just said
Exactly.
now.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I would like to bring that in awareness that so many women, it's just are doing everything for others.
Yeah,
And but when we forget about ourselves, there is always something what just either some illness, the health issue, or just anything what we need to understand that, okay, now it's time to find out me again. Who am I? Who I am here, what I'm here to do. And it's always, it can sound like scary or no thank you, like you did. No,
yeah,
no thank you, it's not me. But
yeah.
you just need to surrender as you did, and then this can you can find a purpose. It's
Mm,
always
yeah,
always scary.
yeah. And it is scary, isn't it? Like getting out your comfort zone, doing something different, like being seen by the people as somebody other than just, like I was quite a just a shadow really of who I really am. I was just kind of lurking in the shadows. I didn't realize that, but now I look back and I think I wasn't even any kind of fullness in myself. I was just serving others and getting any enjoyment from serving. And um, yeah, like I had no awareness of who I really was. I guess I wasn't really very well developed because I'd gone from, being, a young person to being a mother. So I'd got no sort of time in there to really explore myself. Um, yeah, and I know that this is, of course, a thing for a lot of people, especially women. Yeah, so that's really how it all began, and I started to wake up to all of these gifts that I had. And when I was doing my training with people, um, it was like I was remembering, actually, like, I don't even need to train in this. I know this. And I'd forgotten everything that I could do. And it was like suddenly I was absolutely like wide open and remembering. And it was the most like deeply transformational, extraordinary experience because um, I was coming back to myself, basically. I was coming back to who I am and who I can be, and how I can feel, and this sense of purpose and joy. Um, yeah, so that's kind of like how it all began, like, and it just has unraveled more and more and more as time has gone on, and it's been totally liberating and empowering for me. It's been really, really amazing experience. Yeah.
So completely different experience of your life
Yeah, completely. Yeah.
when you had your purpose. Oh,
Yeah, completely. And now it's full with purpose, it's full with joy, it's full with connection. And like I I just didn't feel all these things before. Yeah, like I adored being with my children, but I wasn't doing anything just for me ever. Not ever. I didn't have a massage, I didn't have any time for myself. So
of course, it's not important because we just love our children, and this is just true for so
exactly,
many women.
exactly. Yeah.
Yes. And but then it's difficult part because I can see that, and it was also my story, like, oh yes, now I know my purpose, but but you need to make money, and then there's no time and energy to serve people. And
Yeah.
if I want to just do what I love and serve and make money with this, it's also it's the next journey, and it also can be like tricky. And I know so many women in this stage of life, like, okay, I want to serve, I
Yeah.
want to help,
Yeah.
but and and so, can you talk about what was your journey in this point? Now you know your purpose,
Mm.
and how are you? How was that for you to find out how you can use that for for people and make money with this?
Yeah. So I did my training, and then I started to practice and see clients, and I was getting like extraordinary results. Um, but they were paying me maybe 10, £15, and yet they were getting these like incredible results. And this went on for a long time. I mean, it was just not money I could live on. It was money where I could maybe have lunch, or it's tiny. What we call in the UK pin money. It's just a little bit of something. Um, but I kept feeling this drive to do more and more and more, but I couldn't sustain that with that exchange, because I was giving so much, and the transformations were so big, and yet my bank account was tiny. And it was just like, okay, I need to actually do something about this, and I need to make this like bigger, and I need to embrace this fully. Um, yeah, so there was this sort of like push pull energy, especially around money, especially around spiritual gifts and money. There was a lot of that kind of stuff that I had to work through. Certainly, my own childhood was, in poverty. And so I had a lot of money mindset to do, a lot of it. And also, the outside world, I kept coming across this kind of feeling like you can't be spiritual and earn money. It's just like you can't do that. It's unethical or whatever. And it was just, so I was in this sort of limbo land of like, this is what I want to do. This is my sole purpose. This is like what lights me up. But I can't live on this kind of money. How can I, how can I bring this into balance so it feels really good to me? Um,
And how did you, what's your new beliefs? Because I know I was there as well. Like, it's not spiritual to make money, and it's not like it's not right, but these are gifts. And now I can't charge for that, if the,
yeah,
and this setup. So how did you overcome this? Or what's your new belief? How we can look at this
yeah.
new way?
Well, I think, like ultimately money is energy. And um, when light leaders, my view is that when light leaders have money and they are in abundance, there is this glorious, massive ripple effect because number one, they are feeling good, they are feeling buoyant, they are feeling so happy in this beautiful exchange that they're getting. They are able to be the fullest and greatest expression of themselves. They are able to be generous and, just spread that kind of joy. They are an inspiration for other people, but also when money is in the right hands, like massive, massive global shifts will happen. And I really feel deeply that when beautiful soul aligned people, beautiful people that are, driven by love, rise up into this energy and actually like grab hold of everything and say, right, like now's the time to create change. And collectively, we can do that if we have money. We can't do it if we don't have the money because it's always that bigger energy that ultimately is dominant in terms of the human, the earthly plane. So um, in order for us to create the shifts that we want and for the dominant energy to be love rather than fear, I feel that we all need to rise up and we need to embrace abundance of in every level of our lives, and that includes money. And also, like, you can't work as a healer or a light leader and live on fresh air. You give so much, and it's fair to have an exchange. And also, a really interesting thing I notice is that when you charge something, people get bigger results. It's quite an extraordinary thing. I've started to really play around with this, and it's like the more somebody is like invested in the process, the more they have fully decided, absolutely 100%, the more they get from it. And it's like, wow, that's really interesting. So you meet somebody on a higher plane already, even before you start the work together. They are in that level of, let's do this, I'm making it happen, rather than in this kind of lack mindset, which is very grippy and it's quite sort of like repelling energetically in lots of ways. So like when you can rise into this higher vibration, there is beautiful flow for everyone. Everyone benefits, basically. That is my view.
Yes, exactly. And also if you have enough money, so you still can do things for free for people who just don't have something, because you can.
Absolutely.
Because,
Absolutely.
so
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, totally. And I like to do that in my business, which is you have these, yeah, different ways of showing up, different ways of serving different people. And that feels so great to be able to do that. And because you have money, you have that choice. If you haven't got any money, you don't have those choices. You can't do it for free because you're scraping around to pay the bills, So it's yeah, it's very empowering for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's turn back to your story. How did you create a successful business from with your purpose?
Yeah. So I think I had this strong trust, like massive trust, and strong drive to do this, like to bring it out into the world for myself and also for others. I just had this compelling like focus on this thing, on this business that I wanted to like bring into high level. Um, and so the things that have really worked for me is less about the masculine energy, less about the doing, because you can get very kind of stuck in that level when you're in this kind of entrepreneurial journey. You know you're all in the head, all these things I must do, and it's like quite overwhelming. But when I started to lift into a space of trust and like the feminine energy and really surrender to that and in it, that's when the shifts happen. So for me, that was a really, really big turning point, is when I was like, right, I know that this is going to be massive. So with that in mind, what can I do to ease my flow? What can I do to step into this next level here? And for me, it was, getting a mentor, having somebody to help me with the tech, which is like a massive irritation for me. Like, it's just not my thing. All those sorts of things required great trust because I didn't actually have the money. So I had to, when I first hired my coach, I didn't have the money to do it at all. And it was really scary, really scary. But I look back now and I think, if she was charging a tiny amount, I wouldn't be where I am now, like literally, because it felt like such a big up level for me, such a commitment. And it was so scary. And I was basically sort of like entering a different world of like, wow, like this is what people do. I mean, I spent on my first installment with my coach, I spent more than I'd ever spent in my entire life on myself, on anything actually, like on anything. It was like mind blowing. And I didn't have the money, so I had to scrape together lots of bits and pieces and borrow and all of that. But I did it with trust. And it was at that point that everything started to shift for me, because I was in that energy of this is happening. So I was already living in this energy of course it's happening. Of course I'm in flow. So it's trust, I think, is the biggest thing. And I see lots of people sort of like really honing in on the detail, on the, oh, I've only got so many clients or whatever, all those little things. And it's like, look at the big picture. The big picture is you're doing the thing that lights you up. It's your purpose. Like, step into that energy, lean into that energy, and then from the place of trust, what can I do to make this flow more? What can I do to show up more? Whatever it is. But it's like when we're in that graspy energy of separate, really, then it feels really hard, and it feels really like, oh, like I just can't seem to do it. I seem to be doing all the things and nothing is flowing, and like no one is coming and buying anything, and you're like in that kind of state of, whoa, like, I just can't understand this. But when you lift into this place of trust, it becomes much more flowing. Yeah, much more. And that was a big thing for me. Yeah.
Yes, and this is it's I'm glad you are talking about it, because this feminine energy, to understand the difference between this like masculine, like you have to do that and just do everything, here are the tasks, here are goals, let's just go. But
Yeah.
then you don't have a balance.
Yeah.
You just need trust and just have this idea that there's so many things, but just doing that this feminine way.
Yeah. And we do need the balance. I mean, you can't do it all in the feminine. You can't do it all in the lie back, surrender. You have to take action as well, but you take action from alignment and feeling good rather than, oh, I've got to pay the bills. What can I do? Is more in how can I best serve people here, in this glorious space. And that's the kind of difference. And the universe, of course, delivers then in a much more generous way because we're in that alignment. And yeah.
Yes. So also to listen to your intuition and in alignment, and this doing is after we will get some guidance
Yeah.
from this space, from this feminine energy, just to be and then go and take action when you will get this
Yeah.
guidance.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yes.
when we're in that space, and we ask, what's my next steps? What do I need to do? It drops in and it's clear and it's like, okay. And also, like sometimes I would get something and I'd think, oh, like, I don't really want to do that, or that I'm not sure about that, but I would try it and it would always like work. And I'd be like, oh, that's really interesting. So it wouldn't always, it wouldn't be my idea that would come in. And sometimes I would have this sort of little bit of a conflict, but the more I would trust the, divine drop-ins, then the easier business became. So yeah, again, trust.
Do you have some examples that when you got some idea and it wouldn't sound like logical or something, but you trust it and then you realize that this was the best thing I just could do?
Yeah, well, I mean, the first thing, of course, is hiring my coach because it seemed like completely illogical. I had no money. I was committing to 6 months. It was just like, like, surely I don't need to do that, and I didn't tell anyone because I couldn't risk this kind of bubble of dreams being popped by logic or facts, human facts. But I felt so compelled to step into this energy that I did it absolutely, on trust and nothing else really. And it worked, it really, really worked. But I get it all the time for things like, you must do a group program. And I'll be like, and I'll be, okay, well, I will. And it always is amazing. So it's like just hearing these things and allowing, there's so many examples that I'm always sort of held in this space now of listening and taking action from that higher place because it's very fruitful, very easy, and in total alignment. So it feels really, really great. But that is the best example is when I was actually without money and without a business at all. It was just a tiny little hobby, really. And I invested in my coach, and that was like, yeah, massive. It was really massive. And I'm still with the same coach. So it was all right.
Yes. So it's always better to also to get help and not just stay alone and trying to figure that out
Yeah.
and things like this.
I personally, like, I wouldn't be where I am now if I didn't have a coach because I had no idea how to figure it out. And also, just getting out of your headspace sometimes and having somebody to say, actually, you can just do it over here, look. And it'd be like, oh, yeah, of course. So it's having a mentor, I believe, is pretty imperative to rising up to your next level and having somebody just to hold your space, through big highs, but also through the wobbly parts as well. Just being able to share with somebody, like I'm having a little bit of a wobble about this, and them to they're holding the vision for you. They hold that belief for you. It's pretty special. Yeah.
Oh, yes, but the next idea is we need just to have a balance between, there's so many coaches who want to help you with blueprints for this, or just do that this way because I made so much money with this.
Oh, yeah.
And And there's also important to just to feel who resonates with you,
Yes.
if that resonates.
Yeah, totally. And I think, I mean, there's millions of coaches, and people will be approaching you all the time, but it's something about building a relationship and that person kind of knowing you, and being able to bring out the best in you. So it's not about formulas or funnels or strategies. It's deeper than that. And I think that's where the magic is, when you can get somebody that you connect with, that can kind of draw out your true magic, rather than, because nothing, business doesn't rely on the strategies and all of that masculine stuff. It relies on you being able to bring forward your own purpose, your own magic, your own special uniqueness, and your incredible energy. That's what it really relies on, because if you don't have that, you're just the same as everybody else, so you need that part coming forward, like and being your advert. Yeah.
So, what would be your advice for how we can, I don't know, embody it better, or how we can step more into this our natural feminine energy and be more connected to ourselves, so we can just grow our business the feminine way, more natural for us, and with just purpose, how we can do that and thrive? What's your advice?
Yeah. So many things. Like getting out in nature is basically coming back to yourself, like every day. Self-care is like massively important. Um, Having time out, having boundaries, like having the space to take care of yourself, physically take care of yourself, like emotionally, spiritually, dropping into a space of healing for yourself, look after yourself. Like I have my coach, I have a spiritual healer, I have all sorts of people that kind of support me in my growth. And that's really important for me to feel really held. And just, I think, give yourself space. Like if you're always working in your business, of course, you're often very much in your head. So coming back to your heart and giving yourself the nourishment, um, it's like, and I'm saying that, like there are quite a few things that sometimes I forget to do. Um, there are some things I'm really, really great at, but there are other things that I really have to remind myself. But one thing that has been constant for me that I have, or two things. One is meditation, which I find really good to just drop into that heart space every day. And the other thing is journaling. And I always used to think journaling was a bit overrated and a bit, talked about a lot, but what can it do, but it's so powerful because you sort of like connect with your soul. And, you can journal on what's holding me back, or why am I not doing X, Y, and Z? And you can almost like tap into your soul and get your truth and see it on paper. And there's something about bringing something forward onto the paper, into the physical realm, that makes everything more powerful. Um, so I journal gratitude every day. I find gratitude is a really great way of kind of lifting into this higher vibration that's available to us. And I also do future gratitude. And I'm journaling on, what I'm so grateful for in my future, all the health, all the happiness, the peace, the wealth, all of the things. I'm journaling on them right now, and I'm feeling them. And I feel that that has had a really big impact on me bringing my big dreams into my reality. So, like that, I think journaling is like a massive, fabulous tool for tapping into your inner world and getting some really big answers, because we know all the answers. We have everything we need within us, and we forget that. And sometimes we're looking out there and we're looking to, the material world, but actually, the gold is right here. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you are now helping people to connect with their, just this, their inner source or something in their work.
Yeah. And it's also, like as you move through the entrepreneurial journey, it's a big journey on yourself, and it's a big connection with yourself. And every level, you get a little poke from triggers or wounds that come up, and you're like, oh, it's that one again. And you're asked to look at it again, clear that energy, soften it, understand it, heal it. And so the entrepreneurial journey is, and this has really been amazing for me. It's a personal growth tool. It's a vehicle to grow yourself in, and thrive personally, as well as sort of bring something forward that delights other people, delights yourself. It is a personal journey of great growth. It's incredible. And I feel really grateful to it, because sometimes there is a trigger and you think, whoa, that's made me feel really weird. Okay, what's that about? And that's when my journal again comes in. What is this feeling? Where does it come from? Is it my truth? No, it's not my truth. This landed in here when I was 3 years old. Okay, let's get rid of it. So it's understanding that a lot of the feelings that we have, a lot of the thoughts, the beliefs, the ideas, they're not our truth. The truth is love, and everything else is a lie, basically.
Exactly. This is a journey.
Yeah.
This being entrepreneur, it just brings so many challenges, and you just need to face your triggers and deal with that. So yes, I'm glad that you brought that up.
Yeah.
And so do you have some message for our audience before we just wrap up our session?
Yeah. Okay. So I think whatever you have as your big vision, whatever you have that your heart and soul is desiring deeply, is meant for you. You wouldn't be desiring it if you weren't meant for it. So there may well be obstacles along the way. Of course, we're human and we're experiencing all the humanness of this, but like if you lean into the bigger picture and into the bigger trust and the kind of support from the universe and all the guides, if you're leaning into that space, it makes this journey much, much, much easier. So just, I think my message would be, if you've got the desire, the deep, deep drive and desire and longing, that's because your soul is saying yes on every level. So just look at these little obstacles as just a beautiful part of the learning and the journey, and into this sort of expansion, because that's waiting, it's here. You just need to kind of sidestep a little bit, but it's here. So enjoy it all, embrace it, and totally believe that it's for you.
Yes. This was when I hear this for the first time, like what you dream about, this is for you. It was like, oh no, isn't that too big? These are just dreams, but yes, when you believe that, so yes,
absolutely,
so empowering.
Yeah, so good.
Yes. So thank you very much for your sharing your story and everything you just shared with our audience.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure. Yeah.
It's always a pleasure to talk with you. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you all for watching, and see you in the next session. Bye.